Yo, what up, everybody? In Warehouse Living right now, man. We are about to start fulfillment here very shortly. So we've been putting in overtime. Sorry, I haven't been streaming or anything like that, but I've just been crazy busy. But there are a couple of things that I want to talk about. A topic that many of you guys point to my old material because I've been speaking about this for so long. And I appreciate that. I know it's kind of the topic of conversation because that trailer for the Little Mermaid or something like that came out. I hadn't seen them, to be completely honest with you. And that topic is the discussion again. And I just wanted to, in another video, especially now that I'm in this kind of creative space, I want another video, calm video, to talk about what it is that we're doing and what the actual problem here is. So, by the way, where are we at? Let me look at this right quick. I don't even know where we're at on ISOM. Number one campaign. I know we only got 9 days left. 8 days left. We're entering a week left. Yeah. 3.58 closing in. So the topic of tokenization is interesting because so many people come at it from a dishonest, disingenuous standpoint. Okay. Now, tokenization, I've defined it many times. In this context, what we're talking about is a race swap, right? Character that has historically been one way, understood to be one way, and then there's a swap there for various reasons. I've done a very detailed video, so some people are like, hey, I don't care to even argue the semantics of what it is that we're discussing. Okay, that's irrelevant to the topic. What you know as far as what I'm referring to in this context is the race swap of, let's say, a character, fictional character. It doesn't really matter, but let's just talk about that. What you deem that is not particularly important to this video. Okay, but I have done a video, long form. Y'all can go check that out. But I think people misunderstand why it's egregious. Okay, there's a couple of angles to take from this, but the main thing, I think the primary thing that you have to understand here is the creative and art aspect of it all. Okay, so let's backtrack just a little bit. Everything that is done, this is year 2022. So everything that is done where there is a swap is done purposefully. Hollywood has never, for the most part, and they don't now especially, cast anybody with the intention that they didn't go out there to seek that. When there's a swap, that is, okay? So this whole their best person for the job, or you might like the actor or actress, that's completely irrelevant. And that's simply you being dishonest because when there is a swap, they do it purposefully. We know that a lot of different awards are tied to having X amount of people of this ilk that are part of your project, meaning that these things that these guys care about, be it these awards that they get for these films, they can't even be eligible for those unless they check certain boxes and they check a certain amount of boxes. That is not my opinion. That is a fact. It's a factual statement. We all know that, and they have been very open with that. So when you take someone that's already established or a character that's already established, and then you say, okay, bam, we're going to swap it, it is done always intentionally, or almost always intentionally. Doesn't mean that the actor or actress is not good or cannot be good for let's say just in terms of their talent, right? So when someone sees a tokenization, they say this race swap, this is silly. That does not mean that they are crapping on that person as an actor or actress. Just because they say that doesn't make sense for that character to be portrayed in that way does not mean that that person can't act. Okay. Now they try to conflate the two. So when you call it out, say, this is my thing. A lot of people have become more desensitized to it because they expect it all the time. So it's like, well, I like this actor, so Idris Elba plays a character that's based on Norse mythology, which is basically as white as it get. In fact, that was what he was called, like the whitest of the gods. And hey, you like Idris Elba, so it's fine. And no, it's simply not in terms of the art form. Okay, now I get that you may tolerate it, but that in terms of the art form, no, it doesn't. I'll explain that in a minute. But there's a couple of nonsensical things that I want to address here. You often hear, well, when there's a swap one way, and usually from in this day and age, let's say from a white character, let's say that character now is black out of nowhere, okay? And they'll say, well, it's a fictional character, who cares? Well, you care. If you didn't care, why did you swap him? Purposefully. And then when you say, well, you wouldn't like it if this character was done this way, all of a sudden the fictional character thing goes out of the window, right? It was, oh, it's a fictional character, they don't care anymore. Because they'll say, well, It's race for this character. So you can't change Black Panther because Black Panther is it's race is integral to the character because he's African. Most white people in Africa. He's also a fictional character. Wait a minute. That means the fictional character part didn't even matter. It was just something that you were saying to justify this particular version of tokenization. So when it's another character, if I say a black character going the other way, well, you say that's not right because race is integral to the character, so it's different. Pick one. You can't have both of those positions where it's a fictional character, right? And that being the excuse or the justification, so it shouldn't even matter. And then when someone suggests that it goes the opposite way, well, that doesn't make sense, or that's not right. And then when you're talking about something like this based on Norse mythology, or even a Little Mermaid, which it's based on a Danish fairy tale. These idiots are like, well, Africa has its own set of like folklore and mythology to have mermaids. Well, why aren't you using them? Why are you using Ariel? And I'm not saying that it's like, a direct translation, much like even Marvel with Thor and stuff. We know it's not a direct translation from what the mythology is, but we know what it's based on, and it's something that's very white. One's based on a Danish fairy tale, one's based on this sort of Norse mythology. It doesn't get as wider than that. Don't get wider than that. But the creative sense is the part where I really, as an artist, like, I don't like it, and I despise when people actually try to justify this bad behavior because it incentivizes laziness. Okay, so I say this from experience. Okay, we got Ice too. That'll be in you guys' hands very soon. Its fulfillment starts this month. I created several original characters, not based upon other characters. It's not to say that everybody's going to love it. It's not to say everybody's going to be into this type of genre or anything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I created this character original from scratch, did not reference he's not a swapped version of a different character. It's something that I came up with my own creativity. And in order to get that to hit and actually be a mainstay as someone keeping up with the character, constantly buying books, that is not an easy thing to do. You have to have an intriguing story, which people will find out. It's a very difficult thing to do. But with that being said, that does not mean that it can't be done. What Hollywood and what even happens in the comics when you have a version of a character that we all know, like everybody's favorite tokenization or tokenized character is Miles Morales. And I've talked about Miles Morales many, many times of why he's a goofy character, needless. And yeah, you can refer to 2099, all these other Spider-Man. I don't like the fact that there's a million Spider-Man anyway, but particularly Miles Morales was created to be a black Spider-Man. You can just don't take my word for anything. You can go look at the creators, go look at the editorial team at the time of his creation, where they said specifically it was trying to capture what the whole Obama, hey, we're going to kill our Spider-Man in our universe. Our president is biracial, half black. We should have a character why can the new Spider-Man be the same thing? It was specifically to check a box. Of all the characters, he's the one where you can say, all right, he was created because of the racial. They led with the race first, right? That was why he was specifically created. And we know for a fact of who the character is based upon, Spider-Man, that's his name. There's another character who we know is Peter Parker, who's been doing that, right? We know who the Spider-Man is. And now you made another whose name is literally copy and paste. His origin story in the Ultimate Universe is the same exact thing that happened with the Spider-Man. He's not even original in his own universe's sense. In his own universe's sense, in the Ultimate Universe, he has the same origin, the same exact origin. And even if you look, and it's wrote by the same writer with Bendis, so that shit make sense when you consider what happened. It's the whole Osborn corpse, spider gets out, spider bites person, and now person has powers. That was the same thing that happened in the Ultimate Universe. Same exact thing. In fact, he's having the conversation that he's having. It's a different person that Osborn's having a conversation with, but it's the same conversation. If you go read both of those books, you'll see what it is I'm talking about. It was just created to check a box. It's one of the laziest things that I had certainly ever seen in modern entertainment. And that can be said for a lot of different tokenizations. No, all of them are not equal. Some are better than others. Some are going to catch on a little better than others. I talk about She-Hulk being, to me, not the show. I'm talking about as a character, to me, being one of the, to me, actually not one of, I think she's the best handled tokenized character to ever exist in comic books. Neither here nor there. But in this day and age, all this multimedia, social media, where you can spread information out just like that, you don't have to do all this paid promotion to try to get your work out there to get people to see it and to catch on. You don't have to do that anymore. You can post a bam, and now the world sees it. That doesn't mean that you're obligated to be supported. I think there's a lot of people that get this stuff twisted. Hey, I'm an alternative, go support me. That's not how it works. You got to convince people of your product. You have to be good. Something has to be comparable. You don't just get to exist aside or parallel to someone else and just be warranted support. But what happens is these creatives who pretend like they know what they're doing somehow always find themselves justifying lazy swaps. And I just wish they would stop being chicken crap and would just flat out admit that they like black versions of white things. And it's funny because if you're a black person and you know this experience, from experience, if you have done this publicly, or like on social media, they'll call you all types of house N words, all sort of derogatory racial based names in the event that you speak against the tokenization, which is hilarious. Like I had one guy, you saw me on Twitter talking about, he's like, oh, well, some white supremacy. I'm like, the person that thinks white folk are supreme to others is the person that's foaming at the mouth, begging for his scraps, acting as if things cannot exist unless it goes through that white man and that white character that had already had decades upon decades of established lore, established history. And you don't want to put in that work as a creative, so you swap it because that's the only thing you see as legitimate. So these folks who fist in the air, pro-black, yes, Queen Slay, I love the fact there's this black little black area or whatever. You just like the fact that there's a black version of something that you grew up with based upon a white character. Just say it. You the one that think white folks are superior to other folks. That ain't what I do. It's a projection. But more importantly, it's lazy. It's just art-wise is something that I will never condone or never justify. Even the ones where you think they feel, oh, I was okay with. I don't care that you were okay with it, considering the day and age that we live in. These people, we should be in a creative renaissance where people are able to create stuff anew. And they refuse to do it, or they're incapable of doing it. And they blame their failures on the audience, which is why y'all can't halfway connect with them anyway. So they go back to the old faithful. Let's take something that someone already recognizes and what someone already knows, and let's just palette swap. Bam, here, look at me signal. And any criticism means that you hate the actor or actress or some sort of, that's all nonsense. Oh, well, people don't want to support original work. Maybe your work is trash and they won't support it. But I'm a living and breathing example right now of someone who did do the work to create something that is alternative. And it very well can be done. It can be supported. You can get enthusiasm. And we're an example of, just because you don't want to pretend it exists, maybe because you don't like my politics, maybe because you don't like where I'm at on certain social issues, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And it does. Maybe you're not capable of doing it, but just say that. Just say that you can't make it catch on because you're so obsessed with things like race. It's funny, if ain't one, well, okay, y'all care so much about fictional characters. No, you care so much about them, which is why you advocate for these changes or justify these changes, and you spend a lot of energy doing so. I do care about art. It's my livelihood, for sure. But I'm not in the business of begging white people to accept me or taking characters that are white and changing them. I'm not interested. A lot of Africa, I say this all the time. I wish I had done. I got something for y'all, man. Y'all get a hold of them cards, man. Campaign exclusive. I got something for y'all, for sure. Africa has its own set of mythologies, and these fools act like it just don't exist. Basically, mermaids too don't exist, right? It's not a thing. Instead, you want the white folks stuff. And you can do it in a way that everybody supports. We've seen it all the time. Why can China, you got Chinese dynasties, you got Asian, Japanese culture based things based on Japanese characters, right? We know all the folklore in Europe and everything else and all that. All these geographical areas that are largely like based on this, or they may be more homogenous, right? Or at least they were when they were created, maybe, right? And they've done all that work, and that stuff was loved historically by people of many different ethnic backgrounds and races. Yes, you could do something based on African mythology if it was real written, and it'd be caught on and supported by people of different race, ethnic backgrounds, or whatever. It can be done. Oh, and it will be done. But y'all fools sitting there foaming at the mouth because y'all want these white folks sloppy seconds in every freaking character. Oh, here's this movie got this character that's tokenized because the studio wants to check a box. Oh, I love him as an actor. He's a great actor. He'd be great for the role, knowing damn well that wasn't why he was picked. That doesn't mean that the person can't act. But you know good and damn well, if there is a race swap in 2022, best believe it was done purposely. They did that stuff. They said, look, we need them to look this way. So that's what we're gonna have them do. And that's fine. Admit it. You suck. That's all I'm saying. That's it. That's it. So you can refer this video to anybody else that talks about the issue. I would love to actually discuss these people who are so adamant and love to talk about this stuff and act like it's justified or it should always exist. I would love to interact with them and have a conversation, especially you creatives who do a lot of this stuff, as you call everybody toxic, racist man babies because they dare to disagree with you on this very subject. I would love to interact and engage with you all. Yo, I appreciate you as always. And if you're into comics or want to get into them, go visit Rippaverse.com, where you can check out my own comic book company, Rippaverse Publishing. Our first book, ISOM #1, is currently up for pre-order right now. You can also check out the company trailer and the ISOM campaign trailer so that you could make an informed purchase. We've cleared over $3.3 million in sales, and many of our supporters are viewers just like yourselves. And because of that, I have to thank you all personally. I do appreciate you. I can't wait for you to learn more about ISOM himself and already fan favorite Yaira. We ship internationally, so no matter what side of the globe you're on, we'd love to have you as a customer. Much love and big thanks.